Welcome to Not Your Average Counsellor, the space where we tackle the unfiltered, often messy realities of love, relationships, and human connection. I'm V. Vinci, and I am not your run-of-the-mill counsellor. With over a decade of experience working with clients and my own lived experiences to draw from, I help people all their hidden parts, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because only when we face our truth can we step into our most authentic selves. This series, Messy Truths, is where we dive headfirst into the things we're all thinking, but nobody's brave enough to say out loud. You know, those 2 a.m. thoughts that make you question everything about your relationship, your choices, your sanity. We're breaking down the tough questions people are often afraid to ask. The ones that make you squirm, laugh nervously, and then immediately text your friend saying, "Oh my God, did you hear that episode?" We'll explore the emotional, psychological, and social dynamics at play. Have you ever wondered if it's manipulative to use your partner's insecurities to win arguments? Or questioned whether you should stay with someone who refuses to work on their mental health? If you've ever found yourself thinking, is it selfish to not want children when my partner desperately does? Or should I fake orgasms to protect my partner's feelings? You're not alone, and you're definitely in the right place. No sugarcoating, no cliches, just honest conversations about the messy, complicated, sometimes hilarious reality of being human in relationships. This is where your inside thoughts finally get their moment in the spotlight. Let's get uncomfortable together. Hello and welcome back to Not Your Average Counsellor for 2026 and Season 4 called Messy Truths. So I am V. Vinci, relationship and family therapist and founder of Headquarters Counselling Services. Today we are talking about a question that actually flows on from our final episode last year. Why? Because fuck me, that episode must have hit a nerve and I got lots of interaction from it. It obviously weighs heavily on a lot of people but rarely gets spoken about without judgment or shame. So, while last season's final topic was, can relationship problems be caused by individual mental health issues? This one is going to shake this up with the question I got asked. Should you stay with someone who refuses to work on their mental health? It is a complex, emotional, and deeply personal dilemma, and there's no one-size-all answer. But there are truths that we need to unpack honestly without sugarcoating it and without blame. So let's get into it. Loving someone doesn't make you immune to the reality of their choices. You can adore someone, empathise with their pain, and still feel bloody exhausted by the weight of their unaddressed struggles. This situation is far more complex than people admit. Couples sit in therapy every week saying, I love them, but I cannot keep living like this. I'm carrying the entire emotional load. I'm trying to keep everything together while they refuse to even try. It feels lonely, it feels unfair, and it feels like you're being forced to choose between loyalty and your own well-being. But here's one statement that we can look at. Avoidance is often self-protection. Now, when you look at it through this lens, resistance isn't defiance, it's a coping strategy. It's someone saying, I'm scared, even if the words don't come out, or they come out as, I don't need therapy. But here's the part that couples feel most deeply. The impact still lands on you as the supporting partner. The one who feels the distance, the one carrying the emotional load, the one trying to hold the relationship steady while they avoid the very thing that could help. And that's where tension sits, between compassion for their fear and frustration about the consequences. This is the crossroads that many couples find themselves in. How do I support you without losing me? And how do I honour your pace without abandoning my needs? That's the conversation that this episode is going to open up. So, how do we understand mental health resistance? So when someone avoids therapy, it's almost never because they're lazy or uninterested or even unwilling to grow. That's the surface bullshit story. Underneath, there's usually something far more tender going on, something protective. Most people carry a private internal logic for why they resist getting help. And when you slow down and look at it, it makes sense to them. And when you unpack it like this, it might make sense to you. It doesn't mean that it's helpful, right? So some of the things that will create resistance, one of the big things is shame. Shame whispers, if I admit that I need help, it means something is wrong with me. For many people, therapy feels like a spotlight on the parts of themselves that they've spent years trying to hide. Avoidance becomes a way to keep that spotlight off. And, let's be fair and real in that. If you've worked with me, that's exactly what happens when you show up. I am like holding a spotlight on a person. Nobody wants to come in and do that willingly. But the only thing I hold for my clients is a safe space to say that whatever the spotlight shines up, that's okay. I don't judge it. And I will help your partner not judge it, because the important shift is in being able to become aware of what's going on for me so that you can move through it, right? Which ties into this. One of the other big reasons why people don't come in is that they're afraid of what they'll uncover. Therapy asks you to turn inward, the things you've been running away from. From someone who's survived by staying busy, shutting down, or pushing feelings aside, the idea of opening the door can feel absolutely terrifying. Fear says, what if I can't handle what comes up? The next part is cultural or family stigma. We still have a bloody stigma around mental health. Some people grew up in an environment where therapy was seen as weak or drama or betrayal. If you've been taught your whole life to just get on with it, seeking help can feel like breaking an unspoken rule. The impact of trauma affects resistance. So trauma teaches the body that vulnerability is dangerous. So even the idea of sitting in a room with someone who wants to explore your inner world can trigger old survival instincts. Avoidance becomes a nervous system response, not a conscious choice. People tend to feel like they're broken. People who feel fundamentally flawed often believe therapy will confirm their worst fear, that they're too much, or that they're too damaged or beyond repair. Avoidance becomes a way to protect their identity from further injury. Some people seriously simply feel unworthy of the help. Now, this one is heartbreaking for me. Some people genuinely don't believe that they deserve support or care or investment. They think other people have it worse, or I should be able to handle this myself. That is the biggest bullshit statement we've ever told ourselves or each other. Because how do you handle something that you've got no experience in? Or worse still, our school systems don't even teach you. I mean, nobody teaches you how to handle shit. They only teach you how to use algebra that some people never use in their life. Now, the final one, and the one that actually I get the most, people don't know where to start. The logistics alone can be overwhelming. Finding a therapist, booking an appointment, explaining your story, not knowing what to expect. For someone already struggling, that first step can feel like climbing a bloody mountain. So they're the things that, can contribute to mental health resistance. So let's have a look at what the difference is between can't and won't. Because whilst I said very few people, really don't want to change, we've got a few. It's not 100% guarantee anywhere in life. So, let's look at that smaller percentage that don't want to do it. There's a big difference between someone who can't and someone who won't. Can't might sound like I'm terrified and I don't know how to begin, or I can't afford it. That's a big one. Or I'm overwhelmed. They can all indicate a gap in knowledge. They don't know where to start. Won't sounds like I don't need help. Therapy is pointless. You're overreacting. I'm fine. This is just who I am. That is a won't. The stages of change theory tells us that people move through readiness, right? Which means that there will be some resistance before people are able to be ready to do the work that they need to do, whatever capacity that is. But if someone is firmly stuck in I'm not the problem, that's not a readiness issue, that's refusal. And refusals have consequences, and those consequences generally fall as an emotional toll on the supporting partner. So supporting someone becomes exhausting when you're supporting them alone. It's not just the practical load, it's the emotional weight of carrying two people's inner worlds at once. Over time, that strain starts to seep into every corner of the relationship. You can feel frustration because nothing seems to change no matter how hard you try. You can feel helpless because you can't make them take the step you know you would. You get angry because their avoidance becomes another thing you have to fucking manage. Resentment, now that old sucker, starts to seep in because you're giving more than you're receiving. And that is a nice big fat package wrapped up in a bow called emotional burnout, because you are literally running on empty while still trying to hold everything together. When this happens, you slowly shift out of the role of partner and into the role of carer, manager, or emotional regulator. Instead of sharing the load, you start carrying it. And this is where codependency can quietly creep in. You begin to fix, rescue, overfunction, while they underfunction, withdraw, or stay stuck. Not because you want control, but because you're trying to keep the relationship afloat. But over time, that dynamic becomes simply unbalanced, unhealthy, and unsustainable. You lose your sense of partnership, you lose your sense of self, and the relationship loses its ability to grow. Untreated mental health issues don't stay in one corner. They ripple through everything. You see it in communication breakdown. You see it in a lack of intimacy, frequent conflicts, emotional unpredictability, difficulty parenting together, no consistency or structure, and honestly, a future that feels impossible to plan. Now, I get all of those things coming in, but generally people will come in with one of those. But I know that that's just the tip of the iceberg, that you can't be a little bit fucking pregnant. You either are or you aren't. So you come in with a communication breakdown. I know that underneath there's probably a lot more going on. When one person refuses support, the relationship becomes unpredictable and you end up trying to manage the fallout. So, what are you responsible for and what are you not responsible for? This is the part most people struggle with. You are responsible for compassion, support, encouragement, and being a partner, not a critic. But you are not responsible for doing their emotional work, fixing their emotional wounds, carrying both loads, or sacrificing your own well-being. There is a point where compassion turns into self-abandonment, and only you can recognize when you've crossed that line. I often say to clients, let me become the person to hold both of you to account rather than each other to account. Now, that is far more dicey than what it sounds, because I can tell you, when you have to be accountable to me, Sometimes that's even scarier because I don't have the emotional component where you can push my buttons and, manipulate. I don't care. I just call out behavior as I see it. Doesn't matter who it belongs to. I call it out. I don't call it out to piss you off or to shame you. I call it out so that I can look at what's underneath it. Because again, most people don't do things to create a blockade. They do, the blockade comes in order to protect themselves, but it's creating problems in the relationship. So let me be the critic. So what happens when loving them too much hurts you? Well, your own mental health matters. Many people in this situation find themselves becoming irritable, anxious, numb, withdrawn, depressed. Hypervigilant is a massive one, or disconnected from their own life, and your body starts to show signs that the emotional burden is too heavy. Loving someone should not cost you your stability. You need to be clear. Actually, I'll just get clear for you. An ultimatum is about control. A boundary is about protection. So when you start to notice all these things, irritable, anxious, you're pissed off with everything in the world, and you start to go, if you don't get therapy, I'm leaving, then that is an ultimatum, and it's about control. It's very rarely about control of the other person. It's most likely about trying to gain control for yourself all the wrong way, right? A boundary sounds like, I cannot keep living like this. If nothing changes, I'll need to start making a different decision for my well-being. That is a boundary. That's when you notice all the things that you're feeling and you go and get therapy. Whether it's with me, whether it's with somebody else, it doesn't matter. It's about you becoming aware, hang on, this is getting me to feel out of control, and I need to take control of my feelings and my responses and go somewhere to help you learn that, which will help you navigate what you need to do next. One is a punishment and the other is clarity. An ultimatum is punishment. A boundary is trying to give yourself space to become clear about what you need. And clarity is what relationships desperately need in situations like this. So, should you stay or should you go? It's an impossible decision. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If nothing changes, nothing fucking changes. To make this decision, you will need to explore the impact on your mental and emotional health, your values, what you've tried, what you need, what your limits truly are. Some people do stay, and with support, patience, and genuine willingness from both parties, they grow. Others leave, not out of selfishness, but out of self-preservation. Both choices can be acts of love. Both can be valid. If you are in this dynamic, you deserve your own support. Therapy can give you a place to process the emotional weight. It can help you define clarity around your boundaries. It gives you space to explore fear, guilt, or obligation, which is a massive one. It can provide tools to help you stop over-functioning, and it can help you find a stronger voice. But what it can't do is change your partner. But you can change how you show up. It can change what you accept and what you need moving forward. Loving someone doesn't mean losing yourself. Staying in a relationship where your partner refuses to face their own mental health struggles might feel noble, but over time, it can become extremely harmful. You're allowed to have limits. You are allowed to want more. And sometimes the most loving choice is the one that protects your own well-being. This isn't about giving up on someone. It's about not giving up on yourself. So if this has resonated with you, and to close off this episode, I want you to ask yourself these questions if you find yourself in this situation. Ask yourself, am I more focused on their healing than my own well-being? Ask yourself, have I communicated my needs clearly, or am I just hoping and wishing on a prayer that they're just going to change? And ask yourself, what's the emotional cost of staying exactly as things are? If you can answer those questions honestly, you might give yourself an answer. If you can't, find somebody to help you unpack those answers for you. Thank you for joining me today. As I have mentioned earlier, I want you to be a part of this conversation. Get on my socials, slide into my DMs and engage with this if it's hit a spot. If it has resonated with you and you know someone who needs to hear it, share it with them. And as always, take care of yourself because you matter. One of my big goals for this year is to get this podcast into the ears of more people who genuinely need it. So if this episode has made you think, feel, or see things a little differently, I need to ask you a favour. Follow it, rate it, leave a comment, or share it with someone who might need it too. The more you pay it forward, the more I get to keep doing what I do and hopefully help a few more people along the way. And don't stop there. Be sure to tag me at @VVincieTherapist so that I can see and connect with you. I love hearing your thoughts and takeaways, so my inbox is always open. DM me anytime. Thanks again for listening. I'll catch you next time.